Hey everybody, this is Dr. Joe and I am broadcasting live from one of our aquatic divisions, that is the swimming pool. I just went for a run and so I was thinking about some things while I was running. First of all, it's important, especially if you live in a sunny climate, or for those of you who live up north and will visit a sunny climate, to recognize that there's some important issues when it comes to protection from the sun and melanoma. Melanoma can be a very vicious skin cancer, and while there is some evidence that the more sun you get, the more risk you have, there's also some controversy about that, in the sense that it doesn't mean that you have to have a lot of sun exposure. I've seen melanoma in institutionalized people. I've seen it in people, areas of their body where there has been no sun exposure at all. So don't think because you're not in the sun you don't have risk of melanoma. But first, what I want to talk about is protection from the sun, and then we'll talk about the melanoma. Because the sun can be very brutal on us, although it's a lot of fun, feels good to be out in it. But if you're someone like me who maybe has a very flexible schedule where you can go out in the middle of the day and exercise if you want, it's real important that you don't rationalize about sun protection. And always remember that if you rationalize, really all you're doing is telling yourself rational lies. That means that they sound good and they may be true, but they might not be true either. So recognize that, because I used to do that all the time. I say, I'm Italian heritage, don't worry about it, I'll be fine. And then I start to realize that maybe I was kidding myself. So some important things to consider. First and foremost, the areas that have the greatest sun exposure are at the greatest risk of any kind of skin cancer that's sun-related. So that primarily would be the nose, the lower lip, and the tops of the ears. So it's real important to keep those areas more protected. And some people, for instance, certain ethnic heritages, their noses are right out there. And I'm not picking on my Italian or Jewish friends at all. But if you're one of those people, recognize that your nose needs to be protected. So even now when I go for a run, I've been wearing my hat because I really want to keep myself protected. So what if you're not wearing a hat, or what if you're bald? Well, if you're not wearing a hat, then you need to recognize that your scalp is still at risk. So you need to check it even if you have hair. If you don't have hair, it's easier to check, but at the same time, it might show up easier on a bald head. So just keep that in mind, that hair is not complete protection. It gives you some protection, but not complete protection from the sun. So what do you use? Well, of course, a hat or something that completely protects you from the sun would be best. Also good to protect your eyes. But I always say it's just like with exercise. The best exercise for you is the one that you'll do. For us, the best sun protection is whatever it is that we'll actually wear. So I use this, we like the Panama Jack. I use the Sport 50 on my nose, ears, and lips, and I use the spray-on for the rest of my body. And I like it because it doesn't really feel greasy. So enough about the sun. I'll get to the melanomas now. There's primarily 4 types of melanomas, and I'm not going to discuss them because that's not really, this is not about treatment for melanoma. This is more geared towards identifying it if you're looking for it, and prevention of it. So first and foremost is there's what we call the ABCDs of melanoma. So that's easy enough because everyone has some kind of freckles or some kind of little skin issues on them, and it's important not to freak out and get all upset just because you've got a freckle and you're worried about it. But if it does concern you, by all means get it checked out. So the ABCDs of melanoma are this. A is asymmetric. In other words, if it's not a relatively symmetric oval or round shape, then you might be a little bit more concerned. That, of course, doesn't mean if there's a slight irregularity, but true melanomas have a certain look to them, and if you really want to see what most melanomas look like, just go online to Google Images, and you'll see what I mean when I talk about the ABCDs. So the B is borders irregular. That means totally irregular borders. It doesn't mean just a slight indentation in one area or another. It means a really irregular border, like some areas almost look splattered, maybe even little satellite areas nearby, those kinds of things. The C is color variability. So there might be some areas in a melanoma, I'm not talking about some areas are slightly darker brown. I'm looking at my own freckle when I do this. Some areas are darker than others. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is there's areas that look almost like regular colored skin intermixed with the dark color. And some melanomas are very, very dark, some not so dark. Also, bear in mind that most, and although we can never say all for just about anything, but most melanomas are larger than 1 centimeter in diameter. And the D is really less common. D is it can disappear and then reappear. So there can be all kinds of weird things with melanomas, but suffice it to say that your best bet is to protect yourself from the sun, to keep an eye on any new freckles or discolorations in your skin, and if you're concerned, get with your physician, dermatologist, primary care doctor, plastic surgeons, whoever might know. And that's my lesson for today from the swimming pool. Now I'm going to check out, and I'm going to sort of chill out in the pool for a little while. The air temperature is about 92, and even though the pool says it's 92, it feels cooler than that. And if you want more information on any of this, even if you just want to take our free well-being evaluation, just make a note in there or message me, and I'll send you a link to our free well-being evaluation. Who knows? Maybe you'll learn something about yourself that you didn't know. Take care. God bless you all, and we'll talk again next time.